charts. And here we are on the Thinkorswim desktop paper money platform. And today we're just going to be using US Bancorp as a example stock. Maybe a trader, maybe the fact that the stock has pulled down, bouncing off about that $50.50 level, which has been a historical horizontal area of resistance and potentially now support. Or maybe it caught their eye that the stock has been bouncing along an upward sloping trend line. In any case, let's just say that that their attention's on USB, and they want to acquaint themselves with this active trader tool. Let's go see what that has in store for us. So to open the tool, you'll see a little tab over here to the far right, abbreviated to AT. As I hover over that, you'll see that it says Active Trader. And the way to open that tool up, click on that little tab, and we can close it out just by clicking on it again. So it's really that accessible. Now, it's also customizable as far as its size is concerned. You'll notice when I open that tab, I still have my chart here for quick reference. But if I want more space for the tool and I require less space for the chart, I can click and drag the margin, or vice versa. All right. Now, even if we want to do this, we can shut off the chart altogether and just have a full screen view of the tool. Just be aware that if I were to go to some other stock, I would just be looking at this Active Trader tool, and I don't see my chart anymore. Don't hit the panic button. All we have to do is remember to come over here and click on the C tab again for chart, and there's our chart again. All right, so how do we use this tool? Let's start right up here at the top, and you'll notice that there are two big buttons. There's a buy button and a sell button. Both of those are to execute market orders. Now, I'll show you how to place stop and limit orders in just a moment, all right? But what this is going to do for us is place orders according to this selected quantity right down here. And this is going to take its marching orders from the defaults that we've selected for the platform. So whether we're on the trade tab or we're on the active trader tab, or we're clicking on some other link that's retrieving a default order for us, it always goes to our general platform setting defaults. Here's what I'm talking about. Let's say instead of a default quantity of 10, what we'd like to see is, a default quantity of 100. Let's change our application settings up here and change our order defaults to maybe a default quantity of just 10. There we go. And this is for stocks. That's what we've highlighted specifically here. And we could change the order increment. So the quantity increment going up from like 10 to 110. Maybe we go from 10 to 20, 30, 40, and so on. So if I apply those settings, you're going to see that has changed now this tool plus its increments here. All right. Now these increments are determined according to a multiplier that we'll also set. In any case, how about we just leave it right there? All right, let's leave it on 10. We're going to be trading relatively small quantities for today's demonstration. But with this all set up, I can now, let's say we wanted to buy some shares of US Bancorp. Instead of going to the trade tab, I can just click on buy market, and this will bring up a market order. Now, this is customizable. If we want to change this to a limit or a stop, we can click on edit right down here. I'm not going to do that though. Instead, we can just recognize that how quickly this can place that market order. Now we can also do that to place a market sell order. As I click on sell here, it creates a sell order. If we already owned 10 shares, this would be a quick trade management technique to sell 10 shares of the market. As with other ways of entering market orders, we need to be aware that market orders certainly carry some potential benefits, potential risks. Putting in a market order is a way to raise the likelihood of a quick fill, either on a buy or a sell order. However, it does not deliver with it a guaranteed execution price. So if we see, let's say, a current price of 52.84, doesn't mean we're going to sell and receive exactly 52.84 or buy and receive exactly 52.84, right? That's one of the inherent things that we need to know. Also, for all of the trades we're going to be placing today, these are going to be stock trades in this demonstration. So there are no commissions, but there can be on some types of trades. All right, so I'm not going to send this order off just yet, because I could just click send, and that will sell the shares. I think what I'll do here Actually, let's do this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and click. No, I'm going to add this to the stop order. How about we do that? Let me show you one thing. Buy 10 shares. Let's go ahead and buy 10. Send that order off. So now we own 10 shares. And let's add a stop order. So let's come up here. Let's click edit. We can change this now from a market to a stop. I'm going to make that a good till canceled order. And, you know, with the shares trading at 52.83, we saw maybe a support down at 52.50. Maybe the trader wants to put their stop in down there at $50. How about we do a $50 stop order? Good till canceled. Let's click confirm and send. With a stop order, it's not a guarantee that we're going to sell at a precise price. It's just a trigger order. We may sell at a lower price than that. But let me send that order off. So now what you'll notice is the rest of this tool is starting to populate. You'll notice right down here, this is keeping track of how many shares we purchased or how many shares we've sold for the day, buy or sell. That's what that stands for. It also shows us our net position. Right now we have a net long position of 10 shares. We also have a stop that we can see right over here. Finally saying, we could scale in. Yeah, we might be doing that, a little bit of that today. Let's see. Wacky says, I'm stuck on 8 grid, but first chart has buy, sell, cancel, reverse, flatten. Can't get rid of it like the other charts. I'm not sure. Oh, so you've set up a grid and you kind of hit a snag. My apologies. I don't have time to explore that with you today to see exactly what might be going on there. Do a little bit more experimenting. As always, if you need some personalized assistance, this isn't just for Wacky, it's for everybody. You can call our support team at 800-435-9050. But here we can see our stop. And yes, we can cancel the stop as it is typical. If we have our orders displayed on a chart, we can just click on the little X right there, and that'll cancel that stop. If you're not seeing the orders and you would like to see them displayed on the chart, that's actually a chart setting right up here at the top. We can click on chart setting, go to the general tab, and the very first check mark, show orders. That'll put that what we call a pill on your chart. All right, so we've acquainted ourselves with the buy button and the sell button. Not any huge revelations here other than maybe to realize that the active trader exists. I can click the cancel button to cancel everything. I don't want to do that just yet. What I want to talk about here is the reverse and the flatten button. So how about I do this for just now? Let me go ahead and demonstrate how we can cancel a stop order. I'm going to click on that. That stop order has been canceled. All right, there it is, canceled that stop at $50. I'm going to reinstitute that in just a moment, reinstate that in just a moment. But what is a reverse? Reverse literally means, hey, you know what? I've totally changed my mind on this position. Sometimes the trader might be in a position, maybe they got in because they thought we're going up to resistance and the stocks moved that distance. And maybe now they think it's going to go back down to support. So being long the stock might be the exact opposite of what they want. Maybe they are long, but they want to close out, possibly taking profits, and get into a short position to go the other direction, a bearish stock trade. Well, if I click reverse, I'm going to get a pop-up here that says, Cameron, are you sure this is what you want to do? This is going to reverse the entire position. It's going to go from a long stock position to a short stock position in one trade. So the way it's going to accomplish that is it's going to sell not the 10 shares that I have, but the 10 shares that I have plus 10 more shares, which will result in a net short position. I'm going to go ahead and click yes. So this is going to enter a market order. It's just waiting for just a second and it's going to fill. But there it is, sold those shares. And you'll notice now, I previously purchased those 10 shares, but I sold 20, leaving me now with a net 10 shares. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into the weeds of how short selling works. Just realize that this is a bearish stock position that a trader will typically enter into when they think a stock is going to go down in price. Well, sometimes a stock doesn't do exactly what we think it's going to do. We think it's going to go down and then it goes up. Now, one of the ugly things about short positions is that stocks can continue going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, There is no cap on how much money can be lost on a position like this. All right. So just be aware that a short stock position, among other things that we want to know about selling shares short, has unlimited risk potential. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy out of that. Yep, I'm going to make your head spin a little bit with some trading that I'm going to do, but let's buy those 10 shares back. We're just going to do that at the market price. Let's click send. Or I could have actually just reversed. Actually, for the next step, that's maybe what I might have wanted to do. But in any case, we're going to buy those 10 shares back, and then I'm going to buy 10 more. Okay, so I could have accomplished that through a reverse again. Let me just click send again. But in any case, we're back to where we own 10 shares, or we will be just very shortly when this market order fills. And so now I want to recreate that stop order. So let's click on sell. Let's put in a sell order. Get a little repetition with how to create a stop order here. Let's make sure this one's good till canceled. We're going to have that down at our $50 level. Hit confirm and send. Again, stop order is not a guarantee that we'll sell at a specific price. All right. So now we have 10 shares. You can see that we have a net long position of 10 shares. We do have a stop down here at $50. And let's just say I've decided, you know what? I just want out of this. How many of you, you don't have to admit if it's embarrassing. I've done it though. You may have maybe even seen me do it on a live stream. How many of you decided, you know what, I'm gonna go sell some shares. I've decided I'm done with these shares, and we go sell the stock, but we forget to cancel the stop order that's attached to it. You might think it happens automatically. Nope. You might get a warning in an IRA account, but a stop is not automatically canceled just because we sold the shares that it was intended to sell. We have to remember to go in and cancel that stop ourselves. Okay, so that's important. Well, wouldn't it be nice if there's just a way to make sure that happens? Yep, we can do that using this, what's called a flatten button. So this is going to close out any position that we have in the stock that we have charted, and it will also close any attached orders, such as a stop. So I'm going to click on flatten here, and it says, Cameron, are you sure this is going to cancel that stop order and close the position by selling 100% of that position, currently 10 shares long? Now, let's flatten it. Let me click yes. So we just sold those shares. We've canceled our stop. There's a market order to sell, and when that fills, we're going to see our net long position go to zero. We'll also see that we've sold the 30 shares that we have purchased throughout this demonstration. All right, so there's a quick introduction to some of those default features up here. Let's move over to the right, because I'm just going left to right. We're going to go top to bottom and acquaint ourselves with each of these features. I'm going to click on the little gear, and anytime we see a gear, it just means that something can be customized. In this case, what it's telling us is that this top display can be customized. Let me click on this gear, and I'll just show you. So for example, you may notice that there's no time in force for the trades that we've been selecting. So I'm going to type in TIF here for time in force, and let's add that to, I'll just leave it right down here, click OK. But what you'll see is this is now being displayed just down here on this third line. So we can set a time in force for trades that we're selecting just right there. That's one of the many different customizations that can be made to this top area. So feel free to explore that. Now you know that that exists. You can customize that to your heart's content. So let's move on down now to the quantity. We've already adjusted the quantity using our platform settings, or otherwise known as our application settings, up here at the top right. But we can also customize these by clicking on a gear again. Now, before we do that, these quantity buttons have a function. Let's suppose that instead of buying 10 shares at market or selling 10 shares at market, we have a different quantity in mind. Let's say 30. We can just click on the 30 button, or 50 or 100. But how did Thinkorswim know that we want to trade either lots of 10 or 30 or 50 or 100? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just taking our default and multiplying by specified multipliers. Well, who specifies the multipliers? We can. Let's go over here to the little gear icon. Yes, I can cover that, Greg. As a matter of fact, I'm going to set up a custom template. Greg just asked, can we discuss setting up a trigger with a bracket? Yeah, we'll do that, and I'll also save it as a template. A little bit of a spoiler alert of what's coming up. All right, so when I click on this little gear icon, I get this pop-up. So I'm going to drag the pop-up down here so you can see what it's referring to. All right. First of all, it's saying that we can set up to 5 or 10 custom quantity buttons. So we can set these 5 or 5 more down below. The first row inherits the multipliers from the order defaults in the application settings. Well, we've talked about that. So we set a default of 10, and then it's multiplying 10 by 1 to give us this button, by 3 to give us this button. 3 times 10 is 30. 5 times 10 is 50. 10 times 10 is 100, and so on. So that's how we get these default quantities just multiplied by whatever our default is here. So let's suppose I wanted that second button to always be double the default. Let me just put in a multiplier of 2 and click OK. And what you'll see now is that first button is now 20, 30, 50, and 100, so on. Now we can also display a second row. And these are customizable quantities. They don't have to be some multiple of the default. Sometimes maybe a trader wants to buy 25 shares, or maybe they want to buy, who knows? I don't know what your standard is, but it can really just be any quantity like that. Let me just go ahead. You can type these in as you like, but I'm going to click OK, and you can see now we have these other customizable quantities. So that's kind of nifty. I'm going to take that one off for now, just to unclutter things. But at least now we're knowing how we can get this tailored to the preferences of the trader who has speed in mind. They want everything set up the way they want it, so they can just come in and click on a quantity and click to place a trade and send it off. Right? Now, there's another way that we might speed things up. And that is this is to get to Greg's question, a template. Now, there are familiar templates here for placing trades, OCO orders, a trigger with a bracket, trigger with 2 brackets. We can use the default templates, but we can also construct our own templates and save them. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on single. What this does is, if you haven't used a template before, it just allows us to put in multiple orders at the same time. And I'm going to use something known as a trigger with a bracket. All right. How about we set our quantity back to 10 here? There we go. So what this trigger with bracket does is it goes to a default. It says, all right, Cameron, so by default, it's going to buy 10 shares, and then it's going to put in an order to sell if the stock goes up $1, or an order to sell if the stock goes down $1. Well, maybe our trader, let's say they prefer to see, let's not do this with the plus minus step increments. I'm just going to type this in. Let's type in $2. So I've just customized this. So this is putting in a first order and then 2 sell orders in order to buy, and then 2 sell orders. Our first order is to try to sell at a limit price of at least $2 above whatever it fills for. All right, so if we happen to buy at, let's say, $52.69, then this would have an order in to sell us out at $54.69. If we happen to buy at $52.69, it'll have an order to sell if we fall down by $1. All right, so it's sort of trying to cover profits or losses, but to do it quickly. Now, we can also set the time in force for these. I'm going to switch time in force to GTC. You'll notice it automatically changed that on the other side of the bracket. A bracket just means we're putting something in above the price and putting something in below the price. But now that I've made these customizations, you notice, well, that wasn't particularly fast. I thought we were talking about speed here. Yep. Once I've set up a custom bracket like this, I can actually save that template. Okay, so we just need to give it a name. And let's say maybe we're going to sell at plus $2 or minus $1. Now, you don't have to give it a name like that. I think that just a lot of traders like to know very precisely what their brackets do for them. So that's the way I'm going to name this one. Let's just click save. And now the next time I go to place a trade, right down here under the, if we had a single order, I could go to my template that I've set up that's an order to buy those 10 shares and sell them if I made $10 or sell them if I've lost $1. So you can see how that can be a very quick time saver, right? Now I'm not going to put that order in. I did want to show how that template is built. And you can experiment with that on your own after the webcast is concluded. But this next box, I always hesitate to check this next box. It's called auto send. Who's ever experimented with the auto send feature? Watch this. It's going to make your heart race a little bit. Let me check the little box there. And as I do, it's going to give me this very important notice. With auto send active, your orders will be submitted without a confirmation screen. So you will not have the opportunity to review the terms of your order prior to entry. You will not see any warnings or costs or informational messages related to those orders. See the Think Manual for more details on warning and informational messages. By checking this feature, you accept the associated risks of trading without an order confirmation window and message. Then there's a no thank you or there's an okay. So once that box is successfully checked, this is now optimized for speed for a trader who really wants to get things placed quickly. But let me just show you what it does. I'm going to come up here. Notice we have no position. If I go click on buy market, I'm used to getting that little pop-up, kind of a reassuring little pop-up. I know I haven't made any commitments yet. I can still click the send button after that, and then my order goes off to market. But with the auto send selected, if I click on buy market, boom, did you see that? It sent a market order off and it's filled. That's how quick that is. If I click sell market, it's going to do the same. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave those 10 shares in for now. All right. But are we all comfortable with this top area for the active trader? There's a lot there, right? All of it really tailored to speed. I'm going to make one more little customization here. I'm going to remove that time in force. Just remove that, click OK. Just for the next time I demonstrate this, I like to have a full slate of options for the next audience. All right. So now let's turn our attention down here to what's known as the ladder. All right, we've already acquainted ourselves with the top area of the ladder. We can see the buy and sell quantities. We can see the net position. We can see how much we've made or lost. And right now, it's not a lot. We've been in and out pretty quickly. But there is a little menu here. This menu allows us to tailor the columns that are being displayed here. By default, we're going to see a price. I'll explain what that is. We can see bid size and ask size for quotes at different prices. We can see the volume at different prices. We can actually point at each of these volume histogram bars and see what quantity of shares have been traded today at different prices. But we can also add other columns. Let me expand this just a little bit. Let me click and drag this just a little bit so it doesn't get too crowded. Anyway, but if I click on this little menu icon, I can click customize. And let's say I want to see, should we just say our average price? Now let's say our day buys and sells. Click OK. Click OK there. And now orders that have been filled, we're going to see those displayed. Mike says, how can I get to option education? So Mike, hey, thanks for asking that question, actually, because today's discussion isn't about options, but I do actually do a regular webcast that's about getting started with options. Let me show you. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you here, but we have a range of different webcast series that are dedicated to different topics. So today's topic is getting started with Thinkorswim, but let me make a suggestion for you. If you're new to our channel, first of all, it's called Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Go to right down below the video, click on the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything to do that. It literally only takes a second. But this is where you can join the live streams, but you can also find playlists of previous webcasts right there. So if I click on playlists, since the question was about options, I'm going to scroll down all the way toward the bottom of all these different webcast series that we have. And there's one that's called Getting Started with Options. If I click on View Full Playlist right there, you can see this whole webcast series. It's all about options trading. So yesterday we talked about testing a shaky market with a strategy known as bull call spreads. All right, so in any case, there you go. There are lots of other options webcasts, though. That's just the one that popped immediately to mind because it's the one that I teach. But let's go back to the platform and get acquainted with the rest of our ladder here. All right, so I mentioned that we have this price that goes down the middle, and right at the center is the current price of the stock. So we're at 52.72, so 52.72 is highlighted, and then we can see up and down in 1 penny increments above that price and below that price. And earlier, I said I was going to show you where we can do stop and limit orders. Well, we can do that by editing an order that we've already created by clicking on buy or by clicking on sell up here. But another thing that we might do is come down to the ladder. And if we go to, let's say we wanted to buy the shares, but at a lower price, maybe we're waiting for the price to sag down possibly to $52 or just lower than the current price. Well, what do we call that? That's known as a limit order, a buy limit order, when we want to buy at a certain price or lower. So if we're below the current price and I come over here, you'll notice as I point at the bid, it's preparing to enter a limit order for me. If I go above the current price, that becomes a stop order, a buy stop order. Yep. Sometimes a trader is waiting, maybe for price to rally up above. Let me just make a hypothetical here. Let me draw in a line, maybe at $53. Now, let's say we're hoping for price to get above that old support, currently resistance, maybe looking to get up at 53.10. Well, if we go above the current price of the stock, you'll notice it's preparing to put in a stop order. That is a buy stop order. If the price rallies up to this level, stop the bus. I want to get on. Let me buy some shares at that point. The difficulty is, wait a second, I have such narrow price increments that I can't even see $53. I can't even see $52. Well, we can change that. Right over here, you'll notice there's a plus and a minus sign. So there's a sort of a zoom out for the bigger picture, zoom in for more granular quote information. So I'm going to click on the zoom out. And as I do, it's going to change these increments from just a penny to, first of all, 2 pennies. So now we're looking at 52.74 up to 52.76 and so on. If I click on it again, it's going to go to 5 cents. If I click on it again, it's going to go to 25 cents. If I click on it again, it's going to go to 50 cents. And then finally, it'll go to $1. So now, if I'm looking to, let's say, place stop orders above the current price or limit orders below, I can just go to the price that I was interested in and click on it. Now, this is doing some rounding, though. Doing a little bit of rounding. It always goes up to the price. If it can't get exactly to the penny, because of the increments we've selected, it's going to go up 1 level. So right now, you'll notice it's highlighting 53.72 rather than 53.7 or 52.74, because it's just anchoring itself to sort of even $1 increments. How about I back that down a little bit? Let's come down to maybe, 25 cents or so. So if I wanted to put in, I clicked on the wrong one. Rookie error. Let's go the other direction. Let's see, what are we at now? There's our 25 cents. So for example, if I wanted to put in a buy stop order close to the $53 price, I can click on that bid price, and that created that buy stop order. Now notice I still have my auto send selected, so it didn't wait for a confirmation. If I don't want that, I need to click that off. So let's click and cancel that order. I'm going to turn off that auto send function. But if I've played around with the increments and I want to, let's say, zoom back in or recenter things, one thing that I can do is I can scroll up and down like this, but I can also click on this center view. And what this will do is it's just going to take us right back to that 1 penny increment, and it's going to center right in on whatever the current price is, 52.74 in this case. So I'm going to click on that, and there we are, back to 52.74. All right, now, one final thing that I wanted to show you, and maybe it will be a little bit easier to see. It will be. Let me zoom back out again for just a moment. So 2, 5, 25, 50, $1. There we go. As I move up and down this ladder, positioning my cursor at whatever price has caught my attention, you'll also notice that my crosshairs on my chart are moving around to give me a visual on where I've moved to on my ladder, or vice versa. So watch the little gray bar. You'll see it moving around on the ladder. As I move up and down on the price chart, do you see the gray bar giving me a visual on where that appears on my ladder? Or if I go over to my ladder and I start moving up and down, you'll notice that my cursor, my crosshairs are moving up and down on the chart. That helps us very quickly to orient where the maybe where the trader's about to place a trade using a ladder to where that trade's going to appear on the chart, or vice versa. Pretty nice. So I think, guys, I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to do. Yeah, I think that'll do it for me today. So how's that for an introduction to the Active Trader tool? A lot of features here, all of it really oriented towards speed. If this, if speed isn't your thing, that's totally fine. We don't have to use the Active Trader tool. We can just click, close it up, back to our charts, full screen. All right, guys. So Mary Burns says, would love it if you could provide a brief explanation between Active Trader and Level 2. Level 2 is typically we're dealing with after hours data. Active Trader, we're just using current market data. I'll just leave it at that quickly. But in any case, guys, time for me to let you go. I definitely appreciate you giving me your time today, but we've taken that Active Trader tool, just looked at it left to right, top to bottom, acquainted ourselves with the functions. Don't ever be intimidated by a tool, especially if you're using Thinkorswim paper money, because we can just experiment with those tools. There's no real skin in the game. If we accidentally click on something, it's just paper money. But it allows us to get acquainted with an unfamiliar tool or with an unfamiliar technique. So if this is your first time seeing all these buttons that I've just clicked, maybe go to your paper money, get in there, start digging around, get yourself acquainted with that tool, and you might find it to be very valuable. All right, but everybody, I'm going to let you go. But again, quick reminder of the full slate of educational resources available to you from Schwab Education, starting with our Trader Talks channel on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you do that before the video ends. You can go down and click on the subscribe button just below. It only takes a second, doesn't cost anything. This is where you can join our live streams, and you can also find playlists of previous webcasts as I've demonstrated today. One other thing is you can, if you want to get maybe, let's say, Brent Moore's view on the Active Trader tool, you can do a search. So if I type in Active Trader here, I think Cameron just didn't quite cover everything I'd like to see. Click on Active Trader. You can see it's been about a year since I last discussed this tool, so I thought I'd get back to it. But there is Brent talking about the Active Trader. If you'd just like to get a view of that same tool from a different perspective, or if there's just some other topic that you'd like to explore, just type in your keywords right there. Now, another thing that I would suggest is that you follow Barb and me and your other favorite Schwab presenters on social media. You can find Barb and me on X. You can look for Barb there at Barb Armstrong CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. Here's my profile. Barb and I are both very active on this platform. And if you reply to one of my posts, I just always try to reply right back to you. So for example, I just posted a video today. Was it today? Yesterday? It was the 31st. So it was yesterday. But in any case, posted this video about what do stock traders mean when they say, when the VIX is high, it's time to buy, but when the VIX is low, watch out below. So I explore that. And if you reply to my posts, I just try to reply right back to you. Same applies to LinkedIn now. You can now follow me on LinkedIn. So just go to linkedin.com/in/Cameron May CS, and you can give me a follow there. You can also follow Barb there. She's added links to the chat for those that are watching. Thanks for doing that, Barb. I also definitely appreciate everybody that's already clicked the thumbs up. When you watch one of our webcasts, if you liked what we've delivered to you, make sure that you click that thumbs up button. It's not just a nice thing to do. It's a very nice pat on the back to the presenter for a job well done, but it also gives a boost to the video in the YouTube algorithm so more people can find these discussions of things like how to use the active trader tool. All right. So coming up next, as Barb has thrown in a reminder there, trading index options with Ben Watson. If you want to check that out, that'll be fantastic. Ben is awesome. So watch his stuff. Barb, thanks again. Everybody, go enjoy the rest of our webcast through the day. Enjoy, watch for Barb and me on social media, because we'll be watching for you in our webcasts. We'll also be looking for you on X and on LinkedIn. But until the next time arrives when we see you again, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.